Today I want to talk about blind hatred. Hatred makes people completely retarded. Mix that with just generally not being educated on much. It is a very, very deadly combination. What's got me thinking about blind hatred is the fact that Washington State passed a millionaire's tax, which is an income tax, which is just straight up unconstitutional, according to Washington State's Constitution. Now, anybody who understands the most basic economics knows that these taxes that they say goes towards just the rich is never the case. What happens is the rich leave and then the middle class gets taxed because guess what? There's no millionaires left, and it's a state income tax, so the money has to come from somewhere. So just a little bit of quick history. The federal income tax was started during the Civil War. Same idea. That was meant to tax higher earners. And as we all know, eventually everybody paid it. So if on a federal level, income taxes that are supposed to be for one group of people ends up going to everybody, of course, that's what's going to happen on the state level. So I've had back and forth with people online who just don't know these simple concepts. And the problem is that people are envious. Envy is one of the deadliest sins for a reason. Just like blind hatred, they go hand in hand and they make you pretty retarded. And so with this new income tax and these conversations with people online, not understanding how any of this works, it made me think of this topic. The left in general votes not for good policy, but against currently Donald Trump and Republicans. So in Washington State, in defiance of the Republican Party and out of pure hatred, people decided, let's vote for Bob Ferguson, the far left guy who spent all of his time when he was Attorney General suing Trump. This guy is gonna be awesome. Screw the Republicans. Screw Dave Reichert, who was the Republican running against Bob Ferguson. No, we hate Republicans. We hate Donald Trump. So in retaliation, we are gonna vote for the farthest left candidate that we can get because that definitely is going to make things better. We sure as heck didn't see what the Biden administration did to this country. But then again, we love the Biden administration because it wasn't Trump. So because of this blind hatred, because of this envy, we are now experiencing Bob Ferguson, who is so tyrannical. He decides, hey, screw the Constitution. We're going to sign this income tax anyway. He also just passed a bill that allows politicians to remove elected sheriffs. I don't think things could ever get bad enough for leftists to ever just stop for 5 seconds and be like, maybe we should try something new. Maybe we shouldn't just automatically hate something because we think the entire party is racist, sexist, homophobic, taking rights away, all that crap that they say. They lie to themselves, and they've been lied to, and they eat up the lies. Democrats and leftists are literally and legitimately afraid of the truth. There's an actual term for it. It's called alethiophobia, which obviously translates into the fear of the truth. There's actually been a ton of studies done that actually proves that changing your worldview is actually similar in your brain as like a trauma response. So for people to actually change something they've believed their entire life is kind of traumatic. And I can understand that because if you believe something so long, like for example, Santa Claus, right? A kid finds out, oh no, Santa Claus isn't real. It wrecks them. It changes their whole perspective on the world, on life itself. It is just mind-blowing. Now imagine trying to get adults who have believed in lies and untruths for decades to even remotely peek behind the curtain and see what's actually going on. It is essentially impossible. How do you get people to voluntarily traumatize themselves in order to actually get the correct worldview and take a more middle approach for things? It's just not happening. And I think COVID times really exacerbated this hatred and stuck that permanent stake in between everybody that truly divided us in a way that we've never experienced before. And it really exposed people for who they really are and what they really want to be. Like today, if I see somebody wearing a mask out in public, especially if they're driving around in their car or walking around outside, I am just automatically thinking, wow, that person is my enemy. And when it's time to throw right-wingers into the gulags, the N95 mask people are going to be the ones wearing the patches, throwing us into the gulags. Just, you best believe that mask people are some of the most blinded by hate in this country. They are still willing to humiliate themselves and walk around looking like a goof. And that's the thing. These people would rather this country get nuked than ever vote Republican. I watched an interview the other day where a guy asked this lady, hey, if you had the choice to vote between J.D. Vance and DeSantis, who would you choose? And this old boomer woman straight up said, I would just slit my own throat. There's no rationalizing with the irrational. I'm really just exhausted by hateful and disrespectful people. And people are so emboldened now to say the worst things to your face because there really isn't a lot of consequences for a lot of things anymore. And a lot of people think that everybody else thinks just like them. People are so far gone. Reason doesn't exist. Rationality doesn't exist anymore. It's just, I hate this thing and I'm going to shoot myself in the foot if it means that I don't ever have to be a part of that thing that I hate. I will put everybody else in danger. I'll ruin everybody else's lives. I will make terrible decisions on behalf of society because I hate and I envy these things, whether it's rich people or Republicans or Christians. Doesn't matter to these people. So for all these reasons, it's time that we look at disenfranchising a ton of voters. We need to stop calling voting a right. Voting should be a privilege, and not everybody should be allowed to vote. Get rid of the 19th Amendment, not just because I don't want women voting. I don't want everybody voting, period. Not just women, everybody. Because if we're going to have people who are so retarded by hatred and envy, how does that do good for the country? It doesn't. It creates a mob rule. It creates tyranny like we're seeing here in Washington State. And it destroys a good and moral society. Vote me for president and I'm taking everybody's rights away. I just wanted to say that people are stupid and hatred makes you dumb.